I was grading chemistry tests at my kitchen table when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Olivia, my father's wife of 3 years. Your dad had another episode today. Can you come by tomorrow? I'm worried it's getting worse. I stared at the message, that familiar knot forming in my stomach. Dad was only 67, but according to Olivia, he'd been showing signs of early onset dementia for the past 4 months. Forgetting conversations, mixing up dates, sometimes not recognizing where he was. It didn't make sense. My father, James Chen, had been a mechanical engineer for 40 years. The man who could still recite complex mathematical formulas, who did the Globe and Mail crossword in pen every morning, who never missed a detail. But Olivia seemed so concerned. She'd been documenting everything, keeping a journal of his episodes, scheduling doctor's appointments, researching memory care facilities. She was being the perfect caretaker. I texted back that I'd visit Saturday morning. Dad, can I show you something? I looked up to see my 9-year-old son, Ethan, standing in the doorway. He was holding his tablet, his face pale. What's up, buddy? He walked over slowly, like he was carrying something fragile. I was at Grandpa's house last weekend, remember? I left my tablet recording my Minecraft game by accident. Okay? But I caught something else. He tapped the screen. You need to watch this. The video was from Sunday afternoon, 5 days ago. The angle showed the kitchen at my father's house. Ethan must have left the tablet on the counter. I could hear him and Dad talking in the background, discussing some project in the garage. Then Olivia walked into frame. She moved purposefully to the cupboard, pulling out a prescription bottle. I couldn't read the label from this distance. She opened it, tapped out 2 white tablets onto the counter, then used the back of a spoon to crush them into powder. My hands went cold. She swept the powder into her palm, then walked to the coffee maker. Dad's travel mug, the blue one he took everywhere, was sitting there. She unscrewed the lid, dumped the powder in, stirred it with the spoon, then screwed the lid back on. The whole thing took maybe 90 seconds. She cleaned the spoon, put the bottle back, and left the kitchen, like she'd done it 100 times before. Ethan, I said, my voice not quite steady. Did Grandpa drink that coffee? Yeah. He took it to the garage. About 10 minutes later, he started getting confused. He couldn't remember what we were building. Then Olivia came out and said he needed to rest, that he was having a bad day. I watched the video again. And again, each time, my chemistry teacher brain cataloged the details. The crushing of the pills, which destroys time-release mechanisms and increases dosage. The concealment, the systematic nature of it. Dad? Ethan's voice was small. Is Olivia hurting Grandpa? I looked at my son, 9 years old, and he'd just documented what might be attempted murder. I don't know yet, buddy, but we're going to find out. I called my wife, Sarah. She's an emergency room nurse at Toronto General, and if anyone would know what to do, it was her. You need to get your father to a hospital, she said immediately after I explained. Tonight, not tomorrow, right now. If someone's been drugging him, every hour counts. What about evidence? If I tip our hand, Marcus, if she's been doing this for 4 months, your father could have permanent damage. Hell, depending on what she's giving him, he could die. You get him to the ER. I'll meet you there. We'll get a toxicology screen, and if it shows anything unusual, that's when you call the police. She was right. God, she was right. Ethan, get your coat. We're going to Grandpa's. It was 8:30 on a Wednesday night. The drive to Dad's house in Mississauga took 20 minutes, and I spent every second of it trying not to think about how long this had been going on. 4 months. That's when the symptoms started, according to Olivia. Right after Dad had updated his will to include her as a beneficiary. I'd thought it was sweet at the time. A man in love, making sure his new wife was taken care of. Now it felt like something else entirely. We pulled into the driveway. Dad's truck was there, but Olivia's car was gone. She has her book club on Wednesday nights, I remembered. Won't be back until 10. I used my key to let us in. Dad? You home? I found him in his workshop, sitting on a stool, staring at a half-assembled engine on his workbench. He looked up when I entered, and for just a moment, his eyes were unfocused, lost. Then he blinked, and it was Dad again. Marcus? What are you doing here? Is it Thursday? It's Wednesday, Dad. How are you feeling? Wednesday? He frowned, looked at his watch. I could have sworn. Olivia said it was Thursday this morning. I must have forgotten. He rubbed his face. This is happening more often, isn't it? The forgetting. My heart broke a little. Dad, what did you have to drink today? To drink? Water, coffee, the usual. Why? The coffee from your blue travel mug? Yes, Olivia makes it for me every morning. Strong, just how I like it. He smiled. She takes good care of me. Ethan stepped forward. Grandpa, you need to watch this. We showed him the video. I watched my father's face change. Confusion, understanding, disbelief, horror. How long? His voice was barely a whisper. How long has she been doing this? I don't know, Dad, but we're going to find out. Right now, we need to get you to the hospital. The hospital? But I feel fine right now. Better than I have in weeks, actually. When did you last drink the coffee she made? He thought about it. This morning. But I only had a few sips. It tasted bitter, so I dumped it out and made my own. That was the first time I'd done that. The first time in 4 months he hadn't drunk the entire cup. And he was lucid. Dad, we need to go. Now, Sarah's meeting us at the hospital. We need to get your blood tested. To his credit, he didn't argue. 20 minutes later, we were in the ER at Toronto General, and Sarah had already pulled in a favor with the attending physician. Mr. Chen, I'm Dr. Patel. Your daughter-in-law has briefed me on the situation. We're going to do a full toxicology panel, along with some cognitive tests. I need you to tell me, have you been experiencing any unusual symptoms? Dad listed them. Memory loss, confusion about time and place, difficulty concentrating, mood swings, sleep problems. And these symptoms, Dr. Patel said, making notes. When did they start? About 4 months ago. My wife, Olivia, she's the one who noticed first. She's been so worried. I watched Sarah's face. She was thinking the same thing I was. The blood work will take a few hours, Dr. Patel said. But I'd like to keep you overnight for observation. Is that all right? Dad nodded. Marcus, you should call Olivia. She'll be worried. I will, Dad. In a bit. Once he was settled in a room, Sarah pulled me aside. I've seen this before, she said quietly. Munchausen syndrome by proxy in adults. Usually it's parents and children, but sometimes it's spouses. The caregiver makes the person sick to maintain control, to be seen as devoted, to manipulate situations, or to inherit, I said. That too. She looked grim. The most common drugs are benzodiazepines, anti-anxiety meds, and anticholinergics. Both can cause symptoms that mimic dementia. Both are overprescribed to elderly patients, and both would show up on a tox screen. How long until we know? 2, maybe 3 hours, for preliminary results. I pulled out my phone. I had calls to make. First, I called my sister, Rebecca, who lived in Vancouver. Told her what was happening. She was on the next flight to Toronto. Second, I called a friend from university who'd become a detective with Peel Regional Police. Nathan, I need advice. Not official, just. I think someone's been poisoning my father. He listened to the whole story. The video, the symptoms, the timing. Marcus, listen to me carefully. Don't confront her. Don't tip your hand. If this is what you think it is, you need evidence. Solid, documented evidence. One video might not be enough. What do I do? Get the tox screen results. If they show anything unusual, that's when you call me officially. In the meantime, keep your father away from her. Make up an excuse, say he needs to stay with you for a few days while you figure out his care plan. That'll buy you time. Time for what? To search her background. To look for patterns. If she's done this before, there might be a trail. And Marcus? Check on her previous husband. The one who died. A chill went through me. Her first husband? You said she was a widow when she met your dad, right? How did he die? She said it was a heart attack. He was only 60. 60-year-olds can have heart attacks. They can also be poisoned. Just look into it. At 11:30 that night, Dr. Patel came back with preliminary results. Mr. Chen, your blood shows elevated levels of lorazepam and diphenhydramine. Both are prescription medications. Do you take either of these? No, Dad said. I don't take any medications. I've never needed to. Dr. Patel looked at me. These are both sedatives. In combination, especially over an extended period, they can absolutely cause the symptoms you've been experiencing. Confusion, memory loss, difficulty with time perception, mood changes. How would they have gotten into his system, I asked, even though I knew. That's a question for the police, not for me. But I can tell you that these levels are concerning. If he'd continued taking these doses, the cumulative effects could have been severe. Respiratory depression, cardiac issues, or long-term cognitive damage that might not be reversible. She paused. Mr. Chen, someone has been giving you these drugs without your knowledge. That's poisoning. You need to file a police report. Nathan arrived 40 minutes later, now in an official capacity. I showed him Ethan's video, showed him the tox screen results. This is enough for me to start an investigation, he said. But Marcus, I need to be honest with you. These cases are hard to prosecute. Defense attorneys will argue that maybe your dad forgot he was taking the medications, that maybe he's confused because of the dementia. He doesn't have dementia. He has a wife who's been drugging him. I believe you. But I need to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That means I need more. Tell me what you need. First, I need to look into Olivia's background. Full name, date of birth, previous addresses. Second, I need you to get your father to agree to stay away from her. Can you do that? Dad was sitting up in the hospital bed, looking more alert than I'd seen him in months. I'll do whatever it takes. If Olivia has been doing this, I need to know why. I might have a theory on that, I said. I pulled out my laptop. Dad, you updated your will 4 months ago, right? When did the symptoms start? About a week after. I did a quick search on my phone. Ontario law on spousal inheritance. If you died without a will, she'd get a significant portion of your estate. But you do have a will. What does it say? Dad looked uncomfortable. I left everything to you and Rebecca, but I added Olivia as a beneficiary for $100,000 in the house. I thought it was fair she'd need somewhere to live. And if you were declared mentally incompetent, understanding dawned on his face. She could petition to become my legal guardian. She could control everything. Or, Nathan said quietly, she could increase the doses slowly, make it look like your condition was deteriorating. And eventually, he didn't need to finish. I need to search your house, Nathan said. But I need a warrant for that, and I need more evidence to get one. Marcus, would your father be willing to wear a wire? Go back home for a day. Let her give him the medication, but not actually take it? Absolutely not, I said immediately. That's too dangerous. I have another idea, Dad said. Better cameras. Over the next week, while Dad stayed at my house recovering from a bad spell, Nathan worked on Olivia's background. What he found made my blood run cold. Olivia Santos hadn't always been Olivia Santos. She'd been born Olivia Martinez in Thunder Bay. She'd been married once before, to a man named Richard Santos. Richard had died 7 years ago at age 62. Cause of death: complications from early-onset Alzheimer's disease. He'd been diagnosed 2 years into their marriage, died 3 years later. Olivia had inherited everything: a house, retirement, savings, life insurance. I pulled the medical records, Nathan said. Richard's symptoms started suddenly. Confusion, memory loss, difficulty with basic tasks. But here's the thing, there was never an autopsy. He died at home, under hospice care, with Olivia as his primary caregiver. Can you exhume the body? Working on it. But it's been 7 years. Depending on the embalming, there might not be anything to test. He paused. There's more. I found Olivia's mother's death certificate. She died 10 years ago. Cause of death: complications from dementia. Jesus Christ. Olivia was her primary caregiver for the last 2 years of her life. I can't get medical records without more cause, but the pattern is there. Marcus, 3 people in her life develop sudden dementia. 3 people she takes care of. 3 people she inherits from. We need to catch her in the act. That Saturday, we set the trap. Dad called Olivia, said he'd been staying with me to give her a break, but he was feeling better and wanted to come home. She sounded relieved, loving, concerned. I've missed you so much, James. Come home. I'll make your favorite dinner. Before he went back, Nathan's team installed miniature cameras in the kitchen, the bedroom, and the living room. They were invisible, hidden in smoke detectors, picture frames, the coffee maker itself. Nathan also gave Dad a small plastic container. If she gives you coffee or any drink, pour a sample in here when she's not looking. We need to test what she's putting in it. And then what? Don't drink it? Spill it. Drop the cup. Say it tastes off. Whatever you need to do. But don't ingest it, James. We don't know what dose she might give you. Sunday morning. The cameras caught everything. Dad came down for breakfast. Olivia was already in the kitchen, bright and cheerful. "Good morning, sweetheart. How did you sleep?" "Pretty well, actually. I'm so glad. I was worried about you staying at Marcus's. You know how stressful that can be." She handed him a cup of coffee. The camera angle was perfect. We watched as she turned back to the counter, pulled out 2 prescription bottles from her purse, not from the medicine cabinet, from her purse, and crushed 4 tablets. 4. She stirred them into a glass of orange juice. "Here, drink this first. You need your vitamins." Dad looked at the juice. At her. "Actually, I'm not that thirsty. Maybe later." Her smile tightened. "James, you need to drink it. Doctor's orders." "Which doctor?" "I don't remember any doctor telling me to take vitamins." "Don't be difficult. You know your memory isn't what it used to be." "Olivia, I feel fine today. Better than I have in months. Maybe I don't need—" "Drink it." Her voice had changed. Harder. "Now." Dad stood up. "I think I'm going to call Marcus." She grabbed his arm. "You're not calling anyone. You're confused, James. You're having an episode. Sit down and drink your juice. Let go of me. Sit down." That's when Nathan and 2 other officers came through the front door. "Olivia Santos, step away from Mr. Chen." She froze, looked at the door, at Dad, at the glass of juice on the counter. "I don't understand. What's going on?" "We have a warrant to search this house. You need to come with us." "This is insane. James, tell them you're sick. Tell them you need me." Dad looked at her. This woman he'd married 3 years ago, who he'd loved, who he'd trusted. "I'm not sick, Olivia. I never was." They found the medications in her purse. Lorazepam, prescribed to her mother who'd been dead for 10 years. Diphenhydramine, prescribed to Richard Santos, who'd been dead for 7. They found a journal in her bedroom drawer. That's what broke the case. She documented everything. Every dose, every symptom, every doctor's appointment where she'd expressed concern about James's declining mental state. Subject showing increased confusion today. Upped morning dose to 3 milligrams. Will maintain this for 1 week, then increase to 4 milligrams. Need to establish pattern before approaching lawyer about power of attorney. There were entries going back 4 months for Dad. And before that, there were entries about Richard. Ours doctor agreed to hospice care. Easier to control doses now. No more medical oversight. Can increase to 6 milligrams safely. 3 to 6 months, and it will be over. Nathan told me later that when they arrested her, she didn't deny it. She just asked, "How did you know?" "A 9-year-old boy left his tablet recording," he said. The trial took place 8 months later. The Crown Attorney built the case methodically. They exhumed Richard Santos's body miraculously. Enough tissue remained to test positive for the same drugs. They exhumed Olivia's mother. Same result. 3 victims. 3 murders. 1 systematic pattern. The defense argued that Olivia had been a devoted caregiver, that she'd only wanted to help her loved ones feel comfortable in their decline, that the medications were prescribed for anxiety and sleep, not murder. But the journal destroyed that argument. "I need the money. James has $800,000 in retirement funds. If I can get power of attorney, I can transfer half before anyone notices. Then increase the doses. Make it look natural. Heart failure, maybe. Or he could fall. Lorazepam causes dizziness." The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder. Guilty on 1 count of attempted murder. The judge sentenced her to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. That was a year ago now. Dad is 78 years old today. Wait, no. 68. He's 68. The confusion still catches me sometimes, an echo of those months when I believed he was sick. But he's not sick. His mind is sharp. He does the crossword every morning, still in pen. He's teaching Ethan about mechanical engineering. They're building a model steam engine together. Last week, Ethan asked me, "Dad, why did Olivia want to hurt Grandpa?" I thought about how to answer that. How do you explain to a 9-year-old that some people are willing to destroy others for money? That evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a concerned wife bringing her husband his morning coffee. Some people, I said finally, care more about what they can take than about who they might hurt. But you know what matters more than understanding why she did it? What? That you trusted your instincts. You saw something that didn't feel right, and you showed me. You saved Grandpa's life. I just forgot to turn off my tablet. Sometimes that's all it takes. Being observant, paying attention, not ignoring the little voice that says something's wrong. I think about that a lot now. In my classroom, I teach chemistry to 10th graders, and sometimes I'll go off script. Talk about how the same knowledge that can cure diseases can also hurt people. How prescription medications are powerful tools that need to be respected, not weaponized. I tell them about informed consent, about how no one has the right to put substances in your body without your knowledge. I don't tell them about Olivia. That's Dad's story, and he's private about it. But I do tell them this. If you ever see something that doesn't feel right, if someone you love is getting sick and you don't understand why, if a caregiver seems too controlling, if your instincts are screaming that something's wrong, listen to that voice. Document what you see. Tell someone you trust. Because sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones we need protection from. Sarah and I had Dad over for dinner last night. He brought his new girlfriend, Patricia, a retired librarian he'd met at a community center. She's kind, funny, independent. She has her own money, her own life. She also insists that Dad make his own coffee. I don't trust myself not to mess it up, she jokes. But I see the way she looks at him, like he's precious. Like the thought of him being hurt would destroy her. That's what love actually looks like. As we were clearing the dishes, Ethan showed Patricia the steam engine he and Dad were building. "Grandpa's teaching me about pressure valves," he said proudly, "and about how important it is to pay attention to warning signs. He says engineering is all about noticing when something's not working right." "That's true in more than just engineering," Dad said quietly, catching my eye. Later, after everyone had gone home, Sarah asked me, "Do you ever wonder if there were signs you missed before Ethan's video?" I'd thought about that. God, I'd thought about it. "Yeah," I said. "I think about how Olivia was always the one to bring up Dad's symptoms. How she discouraged him from seeing his old friends, said it was too stressful for him. How she started managing his medications, even though he wasn't on any. How she positioned herself as the sole caretaker, the only one who really understood what he needed. Classic isolation," Sarah said. "Make the victim dependent. Control the narrative." The thing is, I wanted to believe her. It was easier to think Dad was sick than to imagine someone could be that calculating, that evil. That's what people like Olivia count on. That we're fundamentally decent, so we can't fathom that kind of malice. I pulled Sarah close. Ethan saved him. A 9-year-old kid with a tablet saved his grandfather's life because he was curious and observant and didn't dismiss what he saw. "We should all be more like Ethan," she said. "There's a lesson in this, and it's one I try to live by now. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let politeness or social convention or the fear of being wrong stop you from asking questions. Listen to children. They notice things adults miss because they haven't learned to ignore their gut feelings yet. Document everything. Ethan's video was the key that unlocked the whole case. Without it, we might never have known. And understand that abuse doesn't always leave visible bruises. Sometimes it's a crushed pill in a cup of coffee. Sometimes it's a loving smile and a concerned voice and a journal full of murder plans. The people who are supposed to protect us, caregivers, spouses, parents, they hold enormous power. Most use it responsibly. Some don't. It's not cynical to be watchful. It's not paranoid to verify. It's not disrespectful to question. It's survival. Dad keeps Ethan's tablet video on his phone. He showed it to me once, his eyes wet. "I watch it sometimes," he said, "to remind myself that I'm not crazy, that it really happened, that I really was being poisoned by someone I loved." "You weren't crazy, Dad. You were being gaslit and drugged. I know that now. But Marcus, there's something I need you to understand." "What?" "For those 4 months, I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I was becoming someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. And the worst part was thinking I was doing that to you, that you were going to watch me disappear piece by piece." His voice broke. "That's what she took from me. Not money, not health. She took my sense of self. She made me doubt my own mind. And if Ethan hadn't left that tablet recording, if you hadn't acted immediately, if Sarah hadn't known what to look for, I might have spent the rest of my life in that fog. Or worse, I might not have had a rest of my life." We sat with that for a moment. "But I did act," I said finally. "We all did. And you're here. You're okay. I'm more than okay. I'm grateful. Every single day, I'm grateful." He looked at me. Tell people this story, Marcus, when it's appropriate, when it can help tell them. Because somewhere out there, there's another James Chen, another person being slowly poisoned by someone they trust. And maybe if enough people know what to look for, we can save them too. So I'm telling you, if someone you love is suddenly developing cognitive symptoms, confusion, memory loss, personality changes, get them to a doctor you trust. Demand a toxicology screen. Ask what medications they're taking and verify every single one. If a caregiver seems too controlling, too invested in the narrative of illness, too quick to dismiss the patient's own account of their symptoms, question it. If your instincts tell you something is wrong, investigate. You might be wrong. You might feel foolish, but you might also save a life. Elder abuse is invisible. Financial exploitation is invisible. Poisoning is invisible. Until it's not. Until a 9-year-old forgets to turn off his tablet and accidentally captures evidence of attempted murder. Ethan is 10 now. He still plays Minecraft, still forgets to pick up his socks, still leaves his tablet lying around. But he's also the kid who saved his grandfather's life. Last week, his class had to write an essay about a hero. He wrote about Dad, about how Grandpa survived and got justice and found love again. But at the end, he added this. The real heroes are the people who pay attention, who notice when something's wrong, who don't ignore the little voice in their head that says, this isn't right. My dad says that's called trusting your instincts. I think it's called caring enough to look. Out of the mouths of babes. Dad is teaching Ethan chess now, along with engineering. They play every Sunday afternoon. Chess teaches you to think ahead, Dad told him last week, to see patterns, to anticipate danger. Like with Olivia? Ethan asked. Exactly like with Olivia. Except in chess, the queen is supposed to protect the king, not poison him. They laughed. It's okay to laugh about it now. The trauma is real, but so is the healing. And the lesson endures. Watch for the patterns. Trust your instincts. Protect the vulnerable. Document the truth. And never, ever let someone convince you that your reality isn't real. Because sometimes the difference between life and death is a forgotten tablet recording and a curious child who knew that crushing pills into coffee wasn't normal. Even if the adults around him had stopped noticing,